and welcome. Today I would like to share with you one method of increasing and decreasing your rows when working the granny stitch, that is increasing and decreasing horizontally. I'm working with a 5mm hook today, and I'm going to start by chaining a multiple of 3. For this demonstration I have chained 24. I know there are a lot of tutorials out there on how to increase and decrease vertically, but I could not find anything working horizontally, so this is what I came up with in the middle of the night. Hopefully it is of some use to you. So now I'm going to start my first row of double crochets. I'm going to work into the 3rd chain from the hook, and I'm going to create my first little group of 3 double crochets. The first little chain there counts as the first stitch, so I'm only going to insert 2 double crochets into that space. And now I'm going to go to the 3rd chain from that little grouping, and I'm going to put 3 double crochets in there. And I'm simply going to continue this pattern of skipping 2 chains and then inserting 3 double crochets into the 3rd chain from my previous group of 3. I know some people like to add a chain space in between their groups of 3 double crochet. That is up to you. If that is how you do your granny stitch, then by all means. This is just my way of doing it. So I've reached the end of my first row and I have 3 chains remaining. I'm going to skip those 2 there and go into the last chain, and I'm going to do one final group of 3 double crochets just to mirror the group of 3 double crochets that I started with at the beginning of the row. And just to show you, to keep things symmetrical, the group of 3 at the beginning and at the end, I'm going to chain 2, turn my work, and I'm going to work 3 double crochets into that first space. And in this row I'm going to demonstrate how I will increase the granny stitch row horizontally. So I'm going to do a second group of 3 double crochets into that next space as normal, and now I'm going to change it up a little bit. In the next space I'm going to work 3 half double crochets, and then I'm going to go to the next space from the previous row and I'm going to work 3 single crochets. So made a little error there. 1, 2, and 3. And then in the next space from the previous row, I'm going to simply insert 1 single crochet. 1 single crochet. And there we have it so far. You can see a slight slope there. And now I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn my work. And now I'm going to look for that little gap that I just made that separates those 3 single crochets from the 3 half double crochets. And I'm going to insert 3 single crochets there. And then in the next group, in the next space, I'm going to insert 3 half double crochets. So kind of doing what I did in the previous row, but in reverse. That's 2. And now my 3rd half double crochet. And now I'm going to work that next space as normal with 3 double crochets as normal and finish my row as normal using the 3 double crochet groups of 3 in each space until the end of the row. And there it is so far. I have just increased my project by 2 rows horizontally. I'm now going to chain 2 and turn my work. And now we are going to work our granny stitch as normal, working 3 double crochets into each space as normal until the end of the row. So looking for those spaces in between each little group of 3 can be a little bit fiddly. Just make sure you're counting those groups when it comes to the half double crochet and the single crochet, getting in between those groupings of 3. So I'm coming up to, I've counted the group of 3, and I'm going to chain into that space there after the 3 single crochets that I have there. And that's 3. And you can see here that now I have returned to the original second row. I've kind of converged my 2 rows back to that 1 row, and I'm working that as normal. And to continue on, I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work, and in that first space there I'm going to work 2 double crochets. That first chain 2 counts as my first stitch, my first double crochet. And now I have my group of 3, skip those 3 there and working 3 double crochet into that next space and continuing along as normal. And at this point you will just continue your project for as many rows as is required. For this demonstration I will do 2 or 3 more rows, and I will return when I have done that. So back to my original sample piece, I just wanted to demonstrate the way that the spine, if you will, the spine of each stitch, how you can see there is clearly a middle spine, and then you have your spines that continue, that follow along, and there is clearly a point where they split or where they come together, if you will. And just if you ever get confused, just to follow along that spine, which should indicate where you're at in your project. And I can see now that I'm about to continue on with an increase or a decrease, depending on which way you're going. So going back to my demonstration piece, I've done my required amount of rows using the normal granny stitch pattern, and now I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. Then I'm going to complete a row of increase, another increase row. So I'm going to do my granny stitch as normal, groups of 3 double crochets in each space. And just to demonstrate again, we're mirroring what we completed in our previous row of increase. I'm mimicking, I've completed 2 groups of 3 double crochet as I have done also in this current row. So now I know that it is time to start my group of 3 half double crochets, followed by a group of 3 single crochets. So that's my third half double, and now we're going to insert 1, 2 and 3 single crochets, followed by a single crochet in that next space, chaining 2 just as we did before, and I'm going to go back to that space after the 3 single crochets that I just did, and I'm going to insert I'm going to work 3 single crochets into that space there, again working in reverse, finding that next space and working 3 half double crochets, 2 and 3, and then continuing on as normal, with 3 double crochets until the end of my row. Then chaining 2 as normal, turning my work, and well, before I do, just checking that everything looks okay, following my spine, if you will, turning my work and finishing my last row as normal with groups of 3 double crochets in each space until the end of the row. Looking for that little space in between the 3 single crochet, finding that space and working my 3 double crochets in there. So I've counted those 3 single crochets, and now I'm going to work in there and continuing along. And I've reached the end of my row. I'm going to insert a double crochet into the last stitch and take a look, making sure everything is nice and symmetrical, that my increases start and end in the same place on both sides. I'm also taking note of the way the rows merge into each other, like there is my increase that has merged into the second row there, and then I have continued on with the next row and the next row, then I've created that next row, then you can see where they converge there again, and then we've finished with that final row. And there it is, the increase and decrease granny stitch working horizontally. I hope this has been useful. Fun little story. I was trying to recreate the Taylor Swift crochet dress, but the straight up and down rectangle just doesn't sit well on me, but I do love the vertical granny stitch up and down like this. So I'm going to attempt to create some kind of bodycon dress using the granny stitch working up and down. I'll let you know how it goes once that's done. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day.